Hey everyone, I'm Jacob Slade with SteamFirst.com, and today I will be reviewing Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender, a brand new indie game that was just released on Steam. And there's a lot of things I like about this game. However, my biggest complaint with this game is it never goes the extra mile, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But what do I like about Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender? Well, it is a 2D side-scrolling kind of arena tower defense, if you might say, shoot 'em up game. So it's not your average shmup where you're going vertically and the level continues to progress. You're in this kind of closed-in arena, and you're going side to side, and it's a shoot 'em up. In that case, very similar to Resogun on the PlayStation 4, if you've ever played that game. And the enemies continuously spawn, and you fight off waves of them. Now, the graphics and soundtrack I'd like to talk about first, because this is the thing that you initially see when you first boot up the game and initially hear, and it's really, really good. The graphics and sound got me incredibly hooked into this game just immediately, as soon as I launched the game, because it's very, very nostalgic. Now, I've played a lot of indie games on Steam, and almost every single one tries to simulate that retro feel, the 16-bit graphics or the 8-bit graphics, and the nostalgic retro soundtracks and stuff like that. But Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender does it much better than pretty much any other indie game I've played. I've got to say, it's some of the best retro-style graphics and soundtrack in an indie game ever. It's that good. The soundtrack is ridiculously catchy, and just, it really brings you back into like the days of Game Boy Advanced, and if you want to go back further, like Super Nintendo, it's really, really super 16-bit style, something you'd hear in a Nintendo game. It's that good. And the graphics are very, very nice as well. However, I do have one problem. The game does not run in 1080p. There is a full screen mode, but there's no resolution option higher than 720p. That could be a glitch with my particular copy of the game, but on my computer it did not give me an option to run it at 1080p, only 720p. So I ended up playing in 720p windowed. I like to play all of my games in full screen, so that was disappointing to me. However, the graphics are very, very sharp, super colorful, and they also, again, perfectly emulate those nostalgic graphics from 15, 20 years ago. That is probably my favorite part about the game. The gameplay itself, it's definitely not up to par with the soundtrack and graphics, but it is very fun. I did enjoy the game. It's not a very long game. It's like 2 hours, maybe less. It's really not long, but it is an enjoyable experience while you're playing through it. However, it is a bit repetitive, I should say. Now, it is fun because there's tons of different enemies. The game does get pretty fast-paced at times. There's different power-ups you can get. That's all well and good. That's standard shmup fare. It does it well, but it never goes the extra mile. It never throws something at you that's totally unexpected. It never makes anything super, super challenging or anything like that. It never really changes the base gameplay mechanics either. So, while the levels do get more challenging and more fast-paced over time, and there's more and more power-ups, it still is fairly repetitive, and that's probably my biggest issue with the gameplay of the game itself. And aside from it being fairly repetitive, it just doesn't stand out from the crowd in any way. Now, the amount of power-ups as well I had a problem with. The game does have an okay amount. I came across 5 or 6, I think. That's just off the top of my head. I don't think there's more than like 6. There's not a lot of power-ups in the game, and that was disappointing because some of the power-ups are pretty much identical to each other as well. Some are just useless. There was really only like 2 power-ups that I actually got excited about getting. That was a big disappointment, because when I'm playing an arcade-style game, especially if it's retro-style, because a lot of retro games had a ton of power-ups, especially arcade games, and it's disappointing to see that there was not very good utilization of the power-up system in this game. Now, again, the game doesn't go the extra mile with really anything. There's no story, there's no leveling system or anything. It's a very bare-bones game in that sense. But again, that does not mean it's not a fun game. It is a fun game. I was, again, incredibly blown away by the graphics and soundtrack. The audio-video team that worked on this game was phenomenal. I was really impressed because, again, I've played a lot of indie games. Hotline Miami comes to mind for another one that has a really fantastic soundtrack. This game didn't have quite as great of a soundtrack as Hotline Miami, but it was definitely up there. I really like the soundtrack. Maybe not everyone will, but to me, it was really nostalgic. It felt like I had played this game before. It was that retro-themed, I guess you could say. Overall, Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender is a good game if you have some spare cash and you're just looking for a quick, cheap thrill. It's not a standout game by any means. It is a creative concept. It does have, again, very good graphics, very good soundtrack. It is fun, but it's never more than that. And that was the disappointment with Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender. Would I recommend it? Not necessarily, but again, it's a cheap thrill. If you have that extra like $5 in your Steam wallet and you're like, okay, I just want to get rid of this, I'll buy Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender. Aqua Kitty Milk Mine Defender is a fantastic choice then. But I would not go out of your way to play this game. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.